So I'm in sunny Denmark, about to go for my run before it actually gets dark. But I was asked a question about Beserkers and Ulfenders. Um, so I wanted to explain a little bit the way I understand it. So I was asked like which one, how do you know which one you are and which one you would espouse? And I said that in today's modern world, you can't really espouse either, but both can be looked at and respected, and you can learn from them, as in take inspiration from both. But in today's modern world, it's not really, you can't really be either. The reason I said that was that those who dedicated themselves to that lifestyle would be gone and in the forest for extended periods of time, hunt that animal, eat that animal's heart raw, kill it with their bare hands. And they were religious fanatics, and they were somewhat of a ascetic monks or ascetic warrior monks. You can see, we know the ancient Germanic people practiced, ritualized dancing, drumming, and also putting yourself to extreme temperatures, both hot and cold, to induce some of these madnesses, along with a lot of the theories that they had different types of poisonous toadstool and other hallucinogenic mushrooms, which are found all over the northern world. But that being said, you can't live your life like an ascetic warrior monk. You can't be eating animals' hearts. So then I kind of turned to ask the thought that a lot of people say they want to be berserkers, or I'm a berserker, or I identify with a bear more, and I thought it's kind of almost impossible to identify with a bear, as no matter how belligerent, much of a loner, or how tough we think we are, we're still more emulate the wolf. Our social structure, our family unit, is the same as a wolf's family unit. Of course, our society's grown, we've been forced to deal with each other better, but the wolves themselves used to be in super packs, 400 or 500 people, or 400 or 500 wolves at a time, individuals. And in a large pack like that, you are free to come together or break up and freely intermingle. So even the solitary human would have more in common with the wolf, because that solitary human is free to go off, but still has to engage in normal societal behaviors. Now I'm going to get a little bit into bears and what they mean to the ancient world, Proto-Indo-European. We know the wolves are sacred to Odin, and there's a word that they often said would inspire the berserker rage or the Ulfenders rage, and that's the word Uther. I'm probably butchering it, but it is a ancient Germanic word that has no cognates in today's English. And it's very interesting because that word is the root word for seer, for poet, for soothsayer, and a lot of other words throughout Latin, the Latin languages, the Germanic languages, and even some of the Slavic languages. And it's very interesting because the Ittu is a feeling, a divine inspiration. So it's kind of where they think the people got to after their bouts of heat and cold. They would get to this divine fury, but it also paints us a different picture, as in, were these people also poets? And we got to look at now the metaphorical, because it talks about them going into battle and casting off or throwing away their shields. And that's a very important societal marker, because shields and swords were given to young men, when they became of age by their fathers. And that sword and that shield signify their social standing. So by them throwing that away, that's more symbolic than we might think. They might not really have been naked warriors. Maybe they practiced that to intimidate others, because we know they intimidated the hell out of the Christian world by painting their faces and doing what the Continental Germans had done 400 years ago when fighting against the Romans. I mean, some of the tribes would paint themselves all black. But, as I was saying, it's very interesting to look at. The root word has developed into successor words such as seeress, poet, and soothsayer, all very esteemed and intellectual, yet our understanding of the berserker and Ulfenders is something that's base and animalistic. So you're seeing two parts of a dichotomy there. And it's very interesting that they have not only thrown away their social bonds, not so much of complete society, because they're still Manenbund, which is like a secret society, but they're markers of status. And they've embraced this warrior lifestyle, but still with art, because all of our words of success from Uther are artistic in inspiration, divine inspiration. So it goes into my point before that they were warrior monks. Now finally I will turn back to the berserker, and why I don't know why there's prevalence of that, because it's written in mostly Icelandic sources, whereas most of the continental sources refer to the wolves. But the Berserker is reference to the bear. There's almost no other bear references in the mythology of Northern Europe. And it's very interesting because in Proto-Indo-European, the actual word that means bear has been lost. In the Slavic successor languages, it's honey eater. In the Baltic languages, it's the shaggy one. In the Germanic languages, it's the brown one. I forget what it is in Latin, but I can look that up. Anyway, they would refuse to call the bear by its name. There was a taboo against it. They thought they would evoke its fury, become prey for it, or it would not be able to be preyed upon. This is the Indo-Europeans of 35,000 years ago, up until about 10,000 years ago. I guess it's a later period I'm talking about our evidence is from, but they obviously knew the power of the bear because they had to come in contact with it daily. That was the most dangerous animal in their world. Most of the big cats have been killed out by that period. So they knew its fury was divine, fury divine, a word given to describe the Berserkers in their Uther rage. And it makes sense that the bear itself would be a deity that would have been worshipped on its own. That's why you would never refer to it by its name. Such other religions have terrible one, etc., things you don't refer to by name. And it's very interesting to look at that because that's across the entire northern hemisphere, not just in Europe. So it's very, very evident that some of the original worship could have included bear worship and idolatry, and that the Berserkers were a handed down effect of that the Ulfenders were for Odin, but the Berserkers themselves might have fought for Odin, but they were something much more arcane and much more ancient, as they are the only representation of bear worship in Norse mythology. And also just the fact that the Proto-Indo-Europeans would not speak the bear's real name, so it's been lost in time because they thought that the bear would be able to communicate with the spirit of the hunter or the spirit of the warrior itself just by evoking its name. It's just some cool thoughts to think about when we think about the macho concepts of Berserker and Ulfenders. Hope I said that right, guys. If not, have a great day. I'm going to do one more video on something else and then get out to go running before I lose all this wonderful, bright, sunny Scandinavian weather.